Hello, everybody. I got a real interesting Facebook, or not Facebook post, but video here I want to share with you. And it's about a email that I sent to the Department of Justice on March 14th, 2013. Of course, today is March 15th, so that was 7 years ago yesterday. It's a short read. I'm going to read it to you. And this is going to be a shorter video, but it's truly amazing. Okay. And here on the right hand side, what you're looking at now, you can see that's the picture of 13-year-old Hailey Dunn, the famous missing murdered child. Went missing from 80 miles from here. And on December 27th, 2010, okay, that was about 2 months after the 2010 oil show parties where the other little girl was murdered, suspected maybe Hailey was there. And then on March 16th, 2013, and that would be 7 years ago tomorrow, okay, her remains were found. And that's what this story is going to be about. Okay. And so, and you can really, you don't even have to watch this, while I just listen to it. But email to the Department of Justice, March 14, 2013. Okay. And I think I'm going to start this. There's a quote that I like. I found it. Says, once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, three times is enemy action. And that's by Ian Fleming. The guy that wrote the James Bond novels, and so this is talking about just this incredible coincidence, right? And that's what you're going to hear there, that on this date, on March 14th, 2013, that I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested that they come here and they look for clues for Hailey Dunn in the underground facility, and 2 days later her remains are found. That's what this is about. Email to the Department of Justice. 7 years ago today, on March 14th, 2013, I sent this email to the Department of Justice and I suggested they look in the underground facility for clues to the then still missing 13-year-old Hailey Dunn. Hailey had been reported missing on December 27, 2010 from Colorado City, Texas, which was over two years earlier. This is only 80 miles from Midland, Texas. Suspiciously, her remains were found in Scurry County 2 days later without anybody coming to here to look. To make it more interesting, there is now over a half dozen people documented as saying that she was killed and or buried near Odessa, Texas, which is Ector County. And that includes names, people, location, what she's wearing, and all kinds of other details. Many people believe that she was dug up and moved because of this email, as they were desperate to hide the underground facilities. That would mean that Curtis Lloyd, the guy that found her, was somehow chosen to find her. I was recently doing research on a home at 2505 Dartmouth where the homeowner, Shirley Gist, had reported somebody in the attic. I also looked up their neighbors, believing that a tunnel might have been going from their neighbor's house over to their house. I noticed where Terry Lloyd lived at 2503 Dartmouth. Google showed me that Terry was related to Curtis Lloyd, and I wondered if he had grown up in that home, the guy that found Hailey's remains. That would be a connection with him and the people in the attic homes, such as mine and the many others that I've documented. And my home is believed to have $1 million underground facility in the backyard. Okay, multiple people, have said this. I've also found in my research that Hailey Dunn's mom, Billy Dunn, was a stripper around the time that Hailey went missing, so it would make sense that she was ordered to work at the 2010 oil show parties, just like my friend from work was, and the other young girl that was murdered when she refused to prostitute at the 2010 oil show parties. One woman told me that Billy had been taking 13-year-old Hailey to the strip club with her, so I think it's very possible that she was also taking her to the oil show parties. What if Billy Dunn and Hailey Dunn were in the underground facility right in my backyard just 2 months before she was reported missing? Okay. I'm sure the many wealthy and powerful people at those oil show parties wouldn't want anybody to find out that Hailey Dunn was there with them, and at the time she wasn't this world-famous missing murdered child. That might explain a part of this unprecedented cover-up. I've noticed that Hailey's dad, Clint Dunn, and his PI, Erica Mitchell, never tell the public about this email to the Department of Justice, almost like they're wanting to hide that from the public. Interestingly, another guy named Michael Morales told me that Hailey's dad had been pimping out Hailey to his oilfield friends for $500 a trick. I have a print screen of that. I even wondered if that happened at the oil show parties, and if that explained why most people are suspecting that Clint and his PI are trying to hide information about Hailey's kidnapping and murder. I've documented personal attacks against me by them when the only thing I've done is take screenshots and record conversations of what other people said about Hailey Dunn. That should throw up red flags for any legitimate law enforcement person. Here's the email sent 2 days before. My name is Buddy Webb, and I live at 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas. I strongly suspect a wealthy, powerful child prostitution ring is operating here in Midland, Texas. I contacted various U.S., state, and local law enforcement agencies concerning the crimes that have been committed against me in my home, as well as provided them irrefutable and undeniable evidence, but I keep being ignored. This includes Texas Governor Rick Perry and Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott. The news agencies that I've contacted also ignore me and my story. That doesn't change the facts, though. And remember, this was sent in 2013, okay? Because they're no longer the governor, etc. After being terrorized relentlessly for over a year and having my home broken into more times than I can count, these people break into my home again, hide out, and shoot me. They failed to kill me by the grace of God. After I returned from the hospital, I find pictures on one of my security cameras of law enforcement inside my home, removing evidence of this failed murder attempt. I also find evidence of where they attempted but failed to disable the security camera that caught them. There is no police report of the police being inside my home that night. They were obviously being covert in the cover up this murder attempt, which makes them the primary suspects. Now, keep in mind, now 6 years later, they were named by a private investigator, and then 7 years later, we found out there was a police report which had been falsified, didn't have all the names on it, timestamps didn't match, etc. And so there was a police report but I didn't know about it at that time. I didn't find out there's a police report for another 4 years, and that's where we found out there were 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, that were here or inside my home, and they wasn't seen arriving on the camera. And that told me they were under my home, and somebody under my home had shot me. Anyways, that's not in here because I'm reading the letter I sent to the Department of Justice in 2013. Now, I know this is a terribly frightening and scary story to think that the ones that are supposed to protect you are actually the ones that you need to be afraid of, but what does that have to do with Project Safe Child? Okay, and that's what I'm writing, the Department of Justice Project Safe Child. Even though I've explained the facts of this case to you, the question needs to be, why would the police be involved in the attempted murder of an innocent citizen inside his home? I believe the answer to that question is that this wealthy crime ring built an underground facility below my home, and maybe others depending on how big it is, prior to me moving here. I suspect that this underground facility was being used as a brothel and possibly an illegal casino. I have overwhelming evidence to support the allegations of an underground facility. Multiple people are documented saying it's here. Google Maps shows it, the facility in my backyard, right? Since I moved here 4 years ago, there has been 24/7 18-wheeler traffic behind my home. This home is located behind a Home Depot store, so it's understandable that they have to do business and that they get freight in, but the amount and frequency was off the chart. Just within the last few weeks, there's been a 95% drop in this traffic, first time in years. This drop in traffic happened after I got a picture of a girl that looked to be underage at one of these trucks parked in the Home Depot loading area, okay? And that has stopped. Remember that live tree was taken out, and I believe what was going on is the people in the attic were involved in sex trafficking with the secluded truck unloading lane. And then after I was making videos and pointing it out, and remember this was 2013 when this letter was wrote, and that much of that stopped now. I also found a child's toy on top of my HVAC filter, which was on the attic side. And since I changed my attic filter alter, I knew it had dropped recently. I have a picture of this as well, and I still have the filter and the toy. Okay, I don't have the filter anymore, or the toy. I have a Vivint alarm system as well as motion detection lights and several private alarm systems installed in my attic. These go off on a regular basis, but when Vivint calls the local police over, the police tell me we're not going to look. I have them recorded saying this from several different occasions. So the Vivint had dispatched the police to my attic more than once. Okay. I'm not making any of this up, and I have the proof to back it up, what I'm saying. I had attic alarms go off yesterday, and I believe that it comes from children that climb into my attic from pathways built into a wall which go up to the basement. I believe these slavers are using these children to make money, child sex trafficking. That's what I suspected was going on. It would be easy to find and prove what I'm talking about. I believe I know where their pathways are, and from little digging, this underground facility could be found, but I'm now disabled after being gunned down inside my own home, and I can't get law enforcement to do law enforcement work, regardless of the amount of the undeniable evidence that I show them. I just gave you a short story because of this has gone on for so long, but inside this email account is hundreds of pictures of evidence to support my story. And I'm talking about my email. And that's that's proof that I contacted this person and that person, this law enforcement, etc. Sent this evidence here, etc. I believe that these same slavers could be the same people that kidnapped Hailey Dunn, since it happened so close to here, and the MO or the modus operandi is the same. Maybe she's been held by these slavers below my home right now. She's still missing at that time, remember. This was submitted to law enforcement and ignored as well. I also believe that Rini Escobar Sanchez might be buried on this property. He's a missing person from Odessa, which happened right before I moved into this home. When I moved here, there was a dead smell, and I found half-buried clothing fragments in my yard, which I believe are still there. This has been turned over to law enforcement, but like before, it was ignored. I have a video on that still missing man, Rini Escobar Sanchez. Okay, and there's a lot more for that story. The previous owner of this home supposedly died accidentally. That was Mike Lawn. That's what the police attempted to say about me, but I wondered if it wasn't the same police that was involved with his death. His name was Michael Don Lawn. I suspect there has been other murders which can be tied to these people and this underground facility. I believe there's been considerable slander attempting to discredit me and thus hide the facility, these crimes, and the crime ring. The proof is in the pudding. I pray that somebody with some integrity finally does something about it. Okay, so this is the email that was sent to the Department of Justice. Okay, and you can see the date on it. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it. March 14th, 2013. Okay, and it went to the Department of Justice Safe Child Project. And I read the whole thing to you, but underage girl I seen in the secluded trucking lane, and my name is Buddy Webb, etc. Found a child's toy in my attic. Maybe she's being held by these slavers below my home right now. Could be Hailey Dunn, etc. Just what I read to you, okay? And I'm gonna show you. Another. These are screenshots. This here on top was a private message from a Michael Morales, and he tells me, friends from all walks of life. He says, I was told that she was pimped out, Hailey, to her father's oilfield friends. I was told that the father would get up to $500. Okay. And I was even told that she would take it on herself to make money without her father. So I have a print screen of Michael Morales telling me that Hailey's dad was pimping Hailey out. And so I wondered if that's how come Hailey's dad and his PI ignore the more than half dozen people that are documented saying that Hailey was killed in Odessa, not to mention this email that I sent 2 days before her remains were found. Okay. And what a coinky-dinky, right? A coincidence. I started with a coincidence. Okay, this is another print screen from Janice Freeman Driver. Now, Buddy heard that Billy, that's the mom, from a very reliable source, and that Hailey was going with her as well, but staying in the dressing room while Billy Dunn, worked the pole, the stripper pole. She was telling me that Billy was a stripper in the area, and that she was taking 13-year-old Hailey Dunn to the strip club with her. And that's why I'm saying that I suspect all the strippers in the area were ordered to work these big oil show parties. And I believe they were going on in the underground facilities, okay? This is another print screen. This is from the admin of the Hope for Hailey Dunn Facebook group, and I believe her name was Stacy, and I believe she is a friend of Billy Dunn, right? And she was angry, keep in mind while she's stripping was the third job, and she was trying to justify, and I'm not sitting here trying to judge Billy Dunn for stripping or why she's stripping or whatever. I'm just making the point that a stripper that's taking 13-year-old little kids to the strip club with her, that might be a factor in Hailey Dunn's disappearance, and I mean, it makes sense, and that's been hidden from the public, right? The press has been hiding that from the public. This is where I did the, because, and I have a video on this on Attic Investigation 2505 Dartmouth. Okay, and you can find that on my YouTube channel. And basically, my roofer told me about, they did a roof on a home at this address, and the homeowner wanted them to go up and look in their attic because they would believe somebody was up there. Okay, and so there it is, and it was Monty and Shirley Gist that owned this home over there. Okay, so I went to the Midland County Appraisal District at midcad.org, and I looked up, you know, who lived here, but I also wanted to look at who their neighbors were because I suspected probably a tunnel was coming from one of their house. And here was this guy at Landon Graham on this side, and then this one was the interesting one, Terry Lloyd, on the other side. And when I Googled it, that's when Curtis Lloyd's name popped up. And that's when red flags went off, because Curtis Lloyd was the guy that found Hailey Dunn's remains 2 days after I wrote that email to the Department of Justice and suggested that they come here to my home and they look in this underground facility, tunnels, etc., for clues into the still missing Hailey Dunn. And then magically, been gone over 2 years, Curtis happens to find her in Scurry County, and now more than a half dozen people saying she was killed and or buried over near Odessa, Ector County. Okay, I want to show you that, and all that's verifiable. This is just shows you when she was missing and when she was found. I mean, that what a coinkydinky, right? I mean, come on, you've got to admit that 2 days later, after being missing 2 years, as soon as I suggest that they come to my house and look, and all of a sudden, oh, we found her. Oh, no reason to go to Buddy's house. Yep, don't have to go look over there no more. Oh, well, what the look, right? And that's literally what's going on here. Okay. Here was my first comment. This video is a timeline of this person said this on this day, and this person said that on that day. Now there are more than a half dozen people documented saying that Hailey was killed and or buried near Odessa, but her remains were found near Scurry County 2 days after I wrote the Department of Justice suggested that somebody look in the underground facility area. There are many facts that you never see the so-called PI telling the public about. Okay, and so here I am, taking print screens and recording phone calls, and I've got all these people telling the same story about Hailey, being kidnapped by some gang members over in Colorado City, taken to Odessa. I mean, there's just all kinds of information. And then the private investigator and the dad over there on their little Facebook group, oh yeah, that's all been discredited. Oh yeah, that's been discredited. And they never have any they don't have any print screens. They don't have anybody saying that. They have nothing at all. I mean, it's like they're just blatantly trying to mislead this case, and steer the direction. But why, And I think that's a good question. Somebody should be asking that, Okay, here's my next one. I recorded this woman giving me details about the underground facility or homes. They said they cost over $1 million each, and there were 4 3-bedroom homes that were buried at least 25 foot deep. She said they were having pedophile parties down there. This is where I've suspected the 13-year-old Hailey Dunn might have been, right? 2 months before she was reported missing at the 2010 oil show party. Okay, and so that secretly recorded phone call is a YouTube video. Here's a video I made talking about the investigation of the home on the Dartmouth Street, where it was reported that somebody was in the attic. The question been asked that Curtis Lloyd grew up in the home next door. And he was the guy that just magically found the remains of Hailey Dunn 2 days after I suggested the Department of Justice that they look in this underground facility by my house. This is a video that I made talking about the investigation of the home on Dartmouth. Okay, that's the same thing. Looks like a copy. And then last year, a woman told me to go look up my address on 3802 Fair Circle on Google Maps. And to my surprise, I see a large facility in my backyard on the block map that isn't seen from above ground or the sat map. I believe this is one of the underground homes, which I was told about on the recorded phone call, and where the famous oil show prostitution parties were being held. Maybe Hailey and her mom was there. Sorry about that. Okay, and I just clicked over to Google Maps. There's a picture of my home. You can look up my address, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, Google Maps. If you can't remember it, just remember it's right behind the Home Depot store, because here's a Home Depot store. Here's an alley right here. Here's my home. I was shot right here by somebody under my home on this side right here. And in my backyard, there's a big, large facility. You see that big, large facility? Well, guess what? That large facility isn't there. Okay, and I've got a woman telling me there's 4 3-bedroom underground homes costing $1 million each, and they're having pedophile parties down there. I believe that's one of them. And she was only one person to tell me about underground facilities. On other maps, you can see where it looks like a tunnel was cut right here, coming from the Home Depot store directly aimed at my house, right? And so I'm gonna close that out. Remember that about the coincidences. Just magically 2 days after I suggest law enforcement's come look in this underground facility, they found the remains of Hailey Dunn. Tomorrow will be 7 years since they found her remains, and you remember what happened 2 days before that. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.